Join Mark Lewis and R.O.A. for an exclusive interview with Seth Uldricks, lead singer from the Sign of the Southern Cross.
Real rock and roll news. From the legends of rock, you found rockonamerica.live. We're bringing rock and roll to America and beyond. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
In the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, nestled within Asheville, North Carolina, a potent brew of southern ingredients takes form. This is the home of the Sign of the Southern Cross, a band that has distilled the essence of the South into their music. On September 22nd, Seasons of Mist Recordings graced us with their debut CD. Seth Uldricks, the voice and guitar, Ryan Sturm on another guitar, Adam Ranke laying down the bass, and Thomas White pounding the drums. The South runs through their veins. It's a family affair, so they say. Get ready for an exclusive treat as Mark Lewis and R.O.A. sit down for a chat with Seth Uldricks, the lead singer of the Sign of the Southern Cross. Tune in and let the rhythm of the South take you on a journey. The music may stop, but the echoes will linger, much like the memories of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
This is Mark with Rock Over America magazine, and today I have Seth. You're going to help me with your last name. Is it Uldricks?
Uldricks, yes.
Uldricks, okay. From a Sign of the Southern Cross. This is a newer band that's getting out there. A lot of you haven't heard of. We already ran the CD or the review for the EP, which just got all high marks, just absolutely amazing. And if you had to define Southern Cross as a sound, how would you define it?
As far as the sound, is that what you're at?
Yeah. The sound of the music and the sound of the group, how would you define Sign of the Southern Cross?
I would define it as sort of a tasty contradiction, a yin and yang, if you will. It's like it burns. It's a fast burn, but it's got a fat ass on it. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy that sort of heavy metal groove, that blues-based kind of heavy metal that's got soul to it. I've got influences all over the place, and heavy metal is definitely a huge influence for me. But it's anything that's just got that burn to it, that soul, that sort of swing to it. I'm all about it. So that's what Southern Cross is for me. It's just groove metal, blues-based heavy metal.
Cool. And when you were growing up, what were you listening to? What were your musical influences?
Well, it was weird. For me, there wasn't much music in the household, and me stumbling upon music was just sort of by accident. My parents are much older than I guess your average parents are, but they're more like intellectuals. My dad's got a PhD and doing that whole thing, and so there wasn't much music around. The only music I was ever really exposed to is when my brother would come home from college. And he went to college like in the early '90s, so he was coming home with Pearl Jam and just sort of that early '90s grunge kind of stuff. And what I liked about bands like that is that they had a very kind of blues influence on them as well. And so I started listening to that early '90s kind of like rock. And as I was starting to discover music for my own, I actually found an old guitar out in the shed. And I started picking around on it. And I realized I started having more of a taste for heavier, darker, just meaner sounding music. But I had no frame of reference. And it wasn't until I started going through high school and meeting, friends and stuff like that, that I was even exposed to heavy metal. And as soon as I was, it was weird. I was like, I'd never listened to that kind of stuff. But I was writing songs like that. And I was like, my God, it kind of just clicked for me. And, next thing you know, I'm listening to bands like PANTERA, the whole New Orleans scene, I Hate God, Soylent Green, just all the classics coming out of New Orleans, and that really inspired me. And so it wasn't until later on in my life that I really was able to get introduced to metal. But as soon as I was, it just clicked because it just seems like a very natural thing for me for songwriting. I was like, well, this makes sense to me. And I finally discovered it, and it finally just sort of set me on the path that I am on now.
Okay, and what would you say is the one thing that really pushed you over the edge and said, this is what I want to do for a career?
you know, I'd been in and out of just a bunch of bands, you know, from when I was a little kid. Started out playing in blues bands, you know, when I was like 14 years old and stuff like that, singing with, you know, playing with some band of like older guys, just playing at a bar or something like that, singing some Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff like that. But what I think pushed me over the edge for it was obviously PANTERA. I mean, you can't deny any metal musician cannot deny the massive influence of that band. But I guess as soon as I heard PANTERA, you know, that really, you know, just started getting me thinking. I was like, damn, yeah, I love this sound, and you know, so I started, you know, playing their records and just going through it and trying to learn the songs and things of that nature. And then as soon as I started doing bands, you know, professionally on my own, that I like actually really wanted to, you know, do something with, it was almost like it was never not going to be something I wanted to do professionally. It was weird. It wasn't like a conscious decision. I sat down to go, you know, okay, well, I'm going to do this, do that, because I was in college at the time that I started Southern Cross. And, you know, so the plan at the time was I was going to go to college, I was going to go to law school, and then I was going to do the whole, you know, wife and kid American dream kind of thing. But the more I did the music, the more it just sort of became an assumption that it was something I was going to do for the rest of my life.
And you guys are, and I know COC was a big influence for you guys too.
Absolutely. Just that whole New Orleans scene in general. I mean, everybody from COC, from what I understand, they're actually from Raleigh, North Carolina, except for Pepper. Yeah, it's like, I think that's one thing you can hear in the music is it fits right in the middle between extreme metal like PANTERA and sort of that, you know, classic bluesy rock like COC.
Yeah, and also, would it be fair to say there's a little like Southern rock influence too? Because you're out of North Carolina, so it would seem fitting that maybe there's like maybe a little bit of Skynyrd or something in there too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Skynyrd, the Allman Brothers, definitely Allman. We're hugely influenced by the Allman Brothers.
And where did you get the name from? Now, I'm going to preface this, okay, because some people are going to misconstrue this. First of all, if you remember, Black Sabbath had a song called "Sign of the Southern Cross," yep. And then there are going to be people that are going to go, geez, these sounds like a bunch of KKK guys or something, you know? I mean, being from down south, I want to throw that out there because you guys are not anything about that, but some person somewhere might be going, gee, they must be a racist, and they must be wearing white sheets and burning crosses, and it's not about that. So, have you ever heard that before? Have you ever had anybody misconstrue that? Because I know somewhere along the line, somebody's going to be going, they must be wearing white sheets at night.
Absolutely, yeah. People like, you know, it's not as bad as it used to be. I think, you know, if we put it out there and go, hey, you know, this is not a white power band. Why don't you take it down a notch, people? But you know, you still get those people that come up and they're like, what is this, a racist band? Because they see a rebel flag or something like that. And you know, don't get me wrong, I completely understand why some people are comfortable about it. But when did heavy metal become something where it's not about pissing people off? You know,
yeah, and you know,
everybody's sensitive, like, oh, a heavy metal band pissing us off. How can this be?
But you know, like Skynyrd, they ran, and see, it's not really the Confederate flag, because the national Confederate flag has a white field with a blue upper left corner with the stars and bars in it. That's the Confederate battle flag that everybody flies, and people misconstrue that. That has nothing to do with anything other than that's what those guys, and it was just, I mean, it was in literally some cases, as we both know, brother versus brother, cousin versus cousin, very, very ugly part of American history, a very, very sad part of American history, and we're literally even friends. We're even, if there's a movie, of Gods and Generals, if you've seen that, even some of the generals on opposing sides are friends.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaking time in American history. And for those of us, you know, in the South who put that up, you know, adorn our possessions with it, hang it up in our trucks or fly it on our lawns and stuff like that, I mean, none of it's ever like spitting in the face of civil rights or any kind of racial connotation or anything. Absolutely nothing like that.
It's like I put it this way, and tell me if you jive with this, because I think this is the best way to say this. It's like certain people up east in like Connecticut and certain places, they will still. It's very, very prominent in certain places to see the tread on me flag or a bumper sticker. I think there's even a license plate up east that has that, and that's going back from the Revolutionary War. It wasn't the American flag with the circle with the 13 stars. It was just the flag that was flown. And I mean, Skinner was one of the big ones that really, really used the rebel flag. In fact, you can see video of them over in England back in the 70s, and there were people flying the rebel battle flag. So it's just
that's what I love about European fans. They don't give a damn. It's not about that for them. They just enjoy the music, and they feel the music, and they can see past all that bull crap. I think in America, it's unfortunately a big point of contention with a lot of people, and I completely understand that. And I'm not out trying to convince people otherwise. I mean, it's just like, you can read my lyrics, not a damn thing in there about race, about anything like that. In fact, there's only like one or two songs even about being Southern. It's just sort of that Southern sound. And like hell, if people are going to be pissed off at flags, I mean, the KKK used the American flag more than they used the rebel flag.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I think people it's a knee-jerk reaction, and I think that's human nature a lot of times. It's just to not really think about it or not look into it. And, the name, when I first started the band, it was just called Southern Cross. And then a couple years into it, I found out some band up in Canada had, like, signed some sort of small record deal with somebody, and they had that name. And I was like, damn it. So I was like, I got to figure out something to do. And obviously I'm a big fan of Black Sabbath, huge fan of Dio. And I knew they had that song, Sign of the Southern Cross. So I was like, that'd be a cool little, not only homage to Black Sabbath and to Dio, but it would also be, I could still be able to keep Southern Cross. And so it's sort of a representation that, wherever you see us, you'll see our Southern pride, you'll hear that Southern sound. But, we're not idiots. I mean, hell, I'm a college-educated guy. If you read my lyrics, I love philosophy and just an intellectual approach to any kind of human experience. And so absolutely none of it's about race or any ugly crap like that.
Well, I know that and you know that, but that's why I wanted to give you a chance to explain it, because like I said, and you've had experiences, and I know that somewhere somebody still is going to misconstrue that, so that's why I wanted to clear the air on that. So, can we talk for a couple minutes about the first album, which is of Mountains and Moonshine, and what were your two favorite songs on that album, and why?
I would say the two favorites, and these are also, I think, a couple of fan favorites as well, is Stalking Horse, which I think is the last track on the album, and Eating the Sun. Those two tracks on there, I think, really stand out to me. I mean, I love all the songs on there, so it's really difficult to pick, but whenever I'm going back, just to, hey, let me take a listen to this old stuff, I usually gravitate toward those two tracks. And Stalking Horse it's just a fun song, man. It's got a real 80s feel to it. Something about the bridge to me is just real nasty and ugly. It's got a fat swing hook kind of to it. And I think it's just and it's a cool song. It's the only song I've ever written that's about anything political. And it's not even anything specifically political. It's about a stalking horse. The term in the old times originally meant when you were hunting, the hunters they could see that when they would try to approach whatever they were hunting, they'd scare animals off, but they realized that they would tolerate the presence of other animals. So what they would do is they would sort of duck behind their horses, and that would allow them to get closer to their quarry, and then they would pop up and get them. And but in modern times, in sort of a political sense, a stalking horse is someone who seems to be the one who's presenting an idea, like some junior congressman stepping up saying, hey, I've got this bill or I've got this idea. But really what it is there are forces acting behind them that couldn't bring up the idea because if they brought it up, they'd get shot down. And they were sort of working behind the scenes to sort of kind of get their own gains on whatever's being brought up. And so really it's just about keep an eye out and just be smart. You know, I think a lot of people, especially politically, whether they lean left or right or middle or whatever, I don't even think there's a middle anymore for most people. I think it's just, most people are just rocking extreme right or rocking extreme left. And then when they see somebody pop up and they're like, you know, hey, this person is, they're saying what I want them to say, and they, you know, this sounds exciting. You know, take a second to look at who do they affiliate with, and who are these people? You know, who are they really? Because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, all those people, they all go to the same country club. You know, you got, you know, while the media is kind of confusing you about, you know, the left and the right, and you get sort of caught up in all that, no one ever takes a second, you know, they pay attention to the how and the who, but they never pay attention to the why. And that's what that song is about. And like I said, this is not a political band, and it never has been, but that's just the one song, I think, where I actually say, hey, you know, in the world of politics, pay attention. Take some time, do your research before you fervently back one person or the other. And, you know, I could care less if someone's on the left, right, or whatever. It's about just paying attention and being informed, because it's not always what it seems.
Are you familiar with John Schaefer from Meister and the Sons of Liberty band that he has?
I don't believe so.
Okay, because we went a lot of the politics on that stuff, and he was talking about the who and the what, and who's steering what, and the whole 9 yards and that. And this is not one I want to get real political with you right now. That one was specifically an interview that was set up as very, very political, primarily, because it's a band. It's about looking at the Constitution, looking at how things are starting to drift away, and it's not about left, it's not about right, but what it is about preserving what the founding fathers set forth.
Hell, that's not even what it's about for me. It's mostly on a personal level more than a trying to change policy or get us back to, you know, whatever people think was, you know, because none of us were there. So you hear a lot of people constitutionalists, whatever, like, you know, oh, the founding fathers. Just like, shut up. You don't even know. You weren't there, and like. It's just about the individual to me. It's about paying some damn attention, you know what I mean? Right,
but I was saying you were talking about kind of the why behind it, and we kind of went into that. So, you know, it's kind of nice when somebody writes something where they talk about that to get people to think about it. You know, to me, it's not so much about, you know, who you're voting for, but what really kind of perturbs me is when somebody says, well, I'm voting Republican or I'm voting Democrat, and I'm like, I'm voting for, like, John Smith for president. I'm like, okay, so what do you think about John's platform? Oh, it sounds good. My dad's a Democrat, my dad's a Republican, my family, that's why I'm voting that way. I'm like, so what are some of the platforms? You're like, I don't know, but he sounds good. I'm like, oh, God. And that's where hand slaps forehead, and you're going, oh, God. And it's nice when people make people think about that, so I'm glad you do that. And then let's talk about the other song real quick, and then we'll move into the EP, and then we'll give a little bit of a shade of the new album upcoming that you're working on. So let's go into the other song really quick off of the first album.
Okay, yeah, Eating the Sun is, for me, it was a very exploration, and also a meditative thing. I actually did it. I mean, you hear at the beginning of the track, it's this droning sort of organ that sort of rises, and it's meant to sort of to zone you out, to put you in sort of a self-meditative state, to sit there and just think about it, you know, what's going on in your life. And the song sort of touches on, you know, when something in your life is not working, it's hurting you. It's, you know, whether it be a relationship or, you know, your job or just whatever. For me, personally, it was a romantic relationship I had with a young lady that got to a certain point where I finally, after dealing with just so much anguish and so many problems and things that just weren't working, I finally hit that ceiling where I was like, you know, no matter how beautiful she is on the outside, she's hideous on the inside, and it's making me hideous, and I hate this. I hate, you know, what it's making me become. It's turning me into this angry kind of this monster, and that's not who I am.
So you dated my ex-wife's son.
I'm sorry?
You dated my ex-wife's son.
Yeah, see, and that's what that's what I hear from the fans. Like, you know, the lyrics, to me, I was like, well, you know, no one's really going to know exactly what this is about, because I thought they were kind of cryptic. But I actually hear from fans all the time, you know, just sort of when the subject of the first album comes up, fans sort of give me, you know, reach out, send me an email or whatever. They're like, hey, Eating the Sun really helped me through a personal problem. And it was like, yeah, well, you know, what did you go through? And it was a very similar situation. So it was, I guess ultimately in the end it came through, the message came through, like, hey, you know, when it's hurting you, wash your hands of it. You know, to just find that time when you can finally recognize it and you can separate yourself from the situation and look at it objectively and realize that, you know, you don't need that kind of shit in your life.
Oh yeah, because it's real funny that you said that really beautiful on the inside and really on the outside and really hideous on the inside. I had this relationship that was short-lived. I was married to somebody a couple of years ago who's up in Chicago now. It's a long, long internet romance going to hell in a handbasket that was actually, it was not what it was purported to be in the whole 9 yards. And when you said that, I'm going, yeah, he must have been involved with my ex.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's you know, hell, maybe I was. I don't know.
I think everybody, if she was European, you were involved with her. But everybody, I think, has had that. So, you know, it's one of those things that you can relate to. And, you know, I like it when people do write songs that will touch you personally and kind of reach into your soul like that. Because everybody, I don't care how great your life is, we've all had at least that one really, really ugly relationship that we'll never forget, but we try to.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what it's about. You know, none of the subjects that I approach really are any of these revolutionary, brand new ideas like that I'm talking about. I just like to take very fundamental, very elemental human experiences and talk about them in a way that maybe hasn't been talked about that way before. Like, instead of writing some sort of sad, whining love song about, you know, pining after some lost love, I took a real second and turned it into something that was introspective. Said, hey, you know, it sort of even turned it back on myself. Like, hey, you know, I did this to myself for most of the time. I was holding on to poison, and you know, instead of it being this kind of whiny rock ballad, I wanted to turn it into something big and epic. And you know, like I said, the subjects that I broach are never, you know, really revolutionary, brand new ideas, but I do like to cover them in a very introspective, intellectual kind of way.
Well, you know, you can approach songwriting in two ways, and there's nothing wrong with either one. One of my favorite metal songs out there, period, always has been since I first heard it, was "Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner" by Iron Maiden. You can go very prolific like that, or you can write something that just cuts straight to the soul that you as a listener can relate to, and both are okay. But sometimes you don't want to hear the prolific thing, you want to hear the thing that you can really relate to.
Absolutely, and that's the nature of the music. It's blues-based. And what is the blues about? It's about feeling bad, and it's about doing something about it.
Well, and a few other things, too. Well, if you're Robert Johnson, it's about selling your soul to the devil in part, but, you know.
Well, hell, you know, even Robert Johnson, he was feeling bad. He was feeling out with life. So what did he do? He sold his soul to the devil to make it better. Yeah,
and that didn't work. But that's a whole nother story. He died at 27 of pneumonia, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you heard this.
It's all about feel. It's all about from the soul.
Exactly. So let's go through the EP that's out there currently right now. And I'm going to let you give everybody the name of that and take us through track by track really quick on that, and I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Okay. Well, the new EP that we got out that's available for free download is it's called I Carry the Fire. And by the way, just real quick to interject, Seth, where can everybody get that at? You can get it at our website at reverbnation.com/The Sign of the Southern Cross. It's available for free download there. There are 3 tracks. You can also go to our label's website, season-of-mist.com. And you can look up our profile on there, and then you can download that stuff for free there as well. If you go to our YouTube or go to our MySpace or anything like that, there are links all over the place that'll send you to either one of those websites if you can't happen to find it on your own.
And I want to thank Lauren over there at Seasons of the Mist for setting this up, too. She's been phenomenal.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is. I haven't talked to her personally on the phone yet, but I mean emails and everything. She's just been absolutely wonderful. So let's go into the EP, and I'm gonna let you take us track by track. Let's do this for fun. Let's start with the second song first, go to the last song, and then go to the first song. Let's kind of switch it up a little bit.
All right, sounds good. Second song is a little poppy compared to some of the stuff I've done in the past, but it's just sort of this big classic Southern rock ballad, and it's basically it's called "If You Find Yourself Looking Back," and it's this acoustic track with this really beautiful sort of slide tone on top of it, and it's about after you get a chance to sort of get over how passionately angry you are about something or someone.
Yeah.
I think it's like to look back, you can see the good for what it was, and you kind of wish the other person the best. And you look back and you say, hey, I hope you can see the good for what it was. And I can see what I did that led to things maybe not being so good. And once again, it's a very introspective kind of journey. And it's about being able to not only forgive yourself, but to wish someone the best who may have scorned you in the past. And to try to see what was good about the relationship or the situation in the first place. And just remember that instead of just burn on how bad something was forever. Because people do that all the time. They don't ever take a second to go, this is what I learned from that experience. And this is what I took away from it that was good. And so that's what that song is about.
Okay, and then the third song?
Third song is called Dune Swagger. It's a real heavy, kind of kick you in the face, big swinging verse and this thrashy chorus. And basically, I based it off of a couple of different philosophies, but it's mostly based off of Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And it basically just takes you through, history and said, hey, it's not a history lesson, but it's saying, like, you want to make your mark on this earth? You want to put your boot in the mouth of anyone who ever says anything different to you? Well, this is how you do it. These are how, basically, all the behemoths of time, how they did it. And this is how you make your mark on earth. And I call it Dune Swagger.
Do you mind if we talk about that for a second? Because you've obviously read Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
Yeah.
And I have, too. I have a copy of it here. I have a personal copy of it that's more animated, illustrated with the original text in Chinese on the sides, on the borders. And it's people that don't understand or have heard about it, don't know about it. The thing, and I latched onto it years ago, literally about 13 years ago. I was reading an article, and it happened to be on the Marine Corps Officer Training Candidate School. And
yeah, they make you read that if you're in the Marine.
Yeah, and they also have a book called Hand Fighting, which is also you're required to read as well. Well, the article was talking about bus management program in America, and it turned out to be that, and they're talking about Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and I'm going, okay, well, if they're utilizing that, but they're talking about this in a business context, I wonder what else this thing has in it. And when you read it, you realize that not only it was initially created for war, to win wars, but if you look at it, you can utilize it in business, you can utilize it in your personal life, you can turn to relationships. It's a way that you can kind of take a look at life, and if things are going bad, it helps you recoup, and you can put yourself on a better path is really what it's about. It's about a way to look at things so that in a sense, not to quote Charlie Sheen with winning, but, it's really, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy. I'm not trying to make fun of him, but I mean, not to go off on that tangent, but really you can be in a winning path in your life.
Absolutely, and that's what I like to call Dune Swagger. Is it a real word? Hell no, but it's just something I thought it sounds cool, and basically, I just took it from that philosophy, from reading that book, and just sort of rolling with it, and see like that sounds like something that you could apply, not just like you were saying, not just in war, but in just everyday life.
Exactly, and let's go into the first track.
First track is the title track, and it's called "I Carry the Fire." And because we happen to sound like Pantera. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people who don't exactly receive the music that well because, you know, we're just one of those bands right now that you either love or you hate because there's a lot of comparisons. The only thing I would have to say to that is you know, like, hey, even Ray Charles got called out for sounding like Nat King Cole. You know, I'm new. I'm learning. I'm involved in the music, and everybody starts out sounding like their heroes. Metallica, hell, David Coverdale. You know, he sounds like Robert Plant. I mean, I think people put like this over-emphasis on like, originality and so on and so forth. And it's one thing, just like I say in the song, it's one thing to call a spade, but, you know, it's quite another thing to call a card that just because it happens to be in the same deck.
Well, you know...
Basically...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, basically it's just tell the middle fingers, like, hey, you know, that time was an amazing time, and I will always respect that band, and they have obviously influenced me, and it's not just that band, but it's, you know, a lot of bands that you know, sort of get picked out of that pile, you know, the COC, the Panteras, you know, all that kind of stuff, the Phil Anselmo thing. And of course, he's my idol when I was growing up, you know, coming into metal and stuff like that. So, but at the same time, you hear how I'm talking to you right now, I sound like the dude when I talk, so half of the stuff I can't help. But the other half is just like, yeah, I mean, everybody when they start out, they kind of sound like they're heroes. And that's just basically what that song's about. It's like, hey, now it's my turn to carry the fire, you know, just so watch me do it.
Well, you know what's really funny, too, Seth? Are you familiar with the band Rhino Bucket?
I don't believe so.
Okay, you need to go listen to this. You will hear something amazing. I've actually seen them play before, and I got permission to shoot video of them, which we have uploaded in the magazine. And when they first were played on the radio in 1990, I was literally listening to this going, oh, amazing, somebody's found undiscovered Bon Scott AC/DC tapes. And the lady comes on, that was a new song by Ronnie Bucket. I'm like, who? You know, and the point of that is there are certain bands out there that are going to have a sound very similar to another band. You know, even in the case of Brittany Fox sounded similar to Cinderella, and they're just Kingdom Come sounded, I mean, almost identical to the point of Led Zeppelin, to the point that they were, if you remember this, they were considered the Led Zeppelin ripoff band. I mean, that was DJ saying this. That's not me saying this. They were literally tagged as the Led Zeppelin ripoff band because they sounded basically 100% like that. So, I mean, that does happen, and sometimes you get the negative, and sometimes people don't really care. I don't think it's important to focus on, well, gee, Sign of the Southern Cross sounds like Pantera, they're ripping them off. I mean, when you want to really get down to it, isn't that kind of what rock and roll and blues was about anyways? Everybody who just heard something, and then they covered it, not to rip anybody else off, but, you know, I mean, even Motley Crue, for crying out loud, did Jailhouse Rock. Yeah,
absolutely. Even Led Zeppelin. And I'm a massive fan of Led Zeppelin. We're sued because they stole stuff all the time. Now, I'm not, you know, like advocating, you know, not being original and stealing stuff. I'm not doing that at all. But I think people, they have a real staunch definition of it when there is no staunch definition. It's just like with blues, you're absolutely right. It's you know, everybody sort of borrows from everybody else. And that was Led Zeppelin's argument when they were getting sued. They're like, oh, but you know, blues is sort of this interchanging thing, and it didn't happen to work out so good in their favor. They literally stole lyrics or like a blues line that's on somebody's copyrighted stuff. But does that make them any less relevant? Absolutely not. Led Zeppelin will go down in history as one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yeah, so I mean, you know what I'm saying, sir. For anybody that's going to hear this and going to go, oh, they're just ripping out Pantera and they're not original. It's not about that. It's about the fact that, I mean, going back to the very beginning, if I want to go real far, you got to go to Charlie Patton and Robert Johnson and Elmore James and Muddy Waters. But I mean, from the beginning of of blues and rock, everybody in some way borrowed from somebody else, or somebody's covered somebody else's material, and everybody was influenced by somebody else. That's how everybody's doing this. So when you're influenced, you're going to carry it over either subtly or very blatantly, but you know, it doesn't really, I think at the end of the day, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is the quality of the product of the music that comes out and how well the fans jive with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just like, and that's one thing I'm saying, it's all, you know, like, I wasn't Pantera's apprentice. It's not like I knew any of those, you know, those amazing musicians and stuff like that. But I was, you know, I became their apprentice just through listening to their music, and it sort of engendered a fire in my belly for heavy metal in the first place. And then I went out and started listening to all kinds of stuff, and then it went out on my own. And the more and more you hear the material, the more and more distinct it's going to become. But, you know, I absolutely agree that everybody starts out sounding like they're heroes. And whether it be subtle or passive, you know, it's, or you know, subtle or definitely out there. Either way, you just, you know, if you're making good music, you're making good music.
And let me cap this part of the conversation off by saying that, to quote the old saying, imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Absolutely, and if I'm going to be compared to somebody, I might as well be compared to the best, and I take that as nothing but a compliment sometimes. Exactly.
So let's go into the new album. I know that you said that before we started the interview, when we were on the phone getting ready to set this all up here so we could start recording it, that you were saying that you're right now working in the studio. And do you have a working title or an actual name for the new album yet, or are you still working on that?
I'm bouncing back and forth on a couple of ideas, but yeah, that's something that's going to play close to the chest until we can get it 100% ready for the fans.
No, that's okay. Do you have a time frame on when maybe you're looking at the new album coming out?
Well, if everything goes according to plan, and if it goes my way, I would love to be done sometime, you know, in the studio. I'd love to be done before the end of the summer, and I would love for it to be out in the fall. Now, will it work that way? Who knows? I mean, I finished recording Mountains of Moonshine toward the end of 2008, and it took a year for it to get it released. You know, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again, but you never know. Music industry is kind of weird.
Yeah, but, things go.
I'm definitely planning on being done recording before the end of the summer. Okay, yeah, it's kind of old Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. Yeah, I know that too well sometimes, unfortunately. That's another story for another time off the record. But anyway, can you mention maybe a couple songs, even if they're working, you know, like working titles, a couple, just maybe two songs that you really, really dig off the new album of what you've been seeing come to fruition? Well, everything that's coming out is, I'm absolutely in love with it. It's like, I know a lot of artists have a hard time with the sort of sophomore effort, because it's like, oh God, you know, it's been a year, it's been a couple years, and now all these people, they know these songs, and they're going to expect this, expect that. And for me, I just sort of went at it and said, hey, you know, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm just going to write the music that I like. And every track that's coming out is coming out killer. I mean, it's heavy, and, you know, as you can hear in the first album and on the EP, I'm in love with the hook. You know, I mean, just that big, fat hook that just, you can't get out of your head. And there are a couple tracks, you know, on there, but I think also I'll play that one close to the chest until we can, you know, get a clearer picture on when we're going to have this out and just get it done in the first place. Right. Could you at least mention kind of, is it going heavier? Is it going more bluesy? Kind of, without mentioning title or song content or anything, what's kind of the musical direction? We'll kind of close it out with this. What's the musical direction that's going? Is it going kind of the same thing and continuing on? Is it kind of going a more of a blues influence, more of the heavy metal influence? Kind of what's coming in the studio right now? I think it's becoming more distinct of a flavor. I think, you know, talents have grown, tempers have grown, and so it's going to be a heavy-ass record. But it's also going to be a musical record, just like the first one. And I think the sound of the Sign of the Southern Cross, more than anything, is going to be more distinct. You're going to get a more distinct flavor of the band, where it's going to be in the future of what it's trying to do in the very beginning of it. And I think definitely you're going to hear some of those Eating the Sun tracks, and you're going to hear a lot of those Stalking Horse type tracks. And I think to me it's never been about, oh, we have to do it this way, or like we have to make this heavier. It's I sort of write music for each album. I never really write more music than is going to go on an album and then pick and choose. I just sort of go, okay, boom, I'm going to write this next album. And that's what's happening right now, and the music's turning out just awesome. I mean, it'll make you bang your head. It's going to be heavy, and it's also going to be musical, and it's going to be just real distinct, and I'm really excited about it.
Nice. And do you have any plans? Are you looking at any plans for any touring, maybe coming across the country or anything like that, going over to Europe or Asia or anywhere?
There's nothing official, but I'm actually, really, really working on that, and would love to get on the road in support of. I mean, hell, I'll play with anybody. I don't give a crap. I'm just out there looking to play. And so, hell, if Britney Spears wants an opening act, sign me up. I'll do it. You know what I mean? I don't care. I just want to play. And so, officially, there's nothing really set up, but we're working on some stuff. We got a couple of European festivals that are contacting us that I'm hoping will work out, because that'd be a dream come true. And so, yeah, at the very least, look for us to be hopping in our own trucks and heading out wherever we can go to cause.
Okay, the European festivals, we don't have to go into the names of which, but along the lines of like Bang Your Head Fest, Wacken, Download Fest, things like that, kind of.
Well, it's a little more mid-size festivals instead of this big giant behemoths. There's I know there's one in Australia that is looking very promising.
Okay, so it's kind of in somewhere between like a Download Fest and like a Keep It True festival or Prog Power.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're talking basically between 40 to 60,000 people and about 2 to 3,000 people, so somewhere probably about 10, and a lot of those festivals are about 10, 20,000 people.
Right. So hopefully that'd be a dream come true. We could do that. But if not, you'll always see Southern Cross keep it on.
You need to come out here to the West Coast too.
Yeah, man, I'd absolutely love to. I've been out there many years ago playing, long before this, the Mountains and Moonshine and stuff like that. And so I miss it. I definitely would love to get back out there.
I got something to tell you when we're done on here, but we're going to wrap this up here in just a second. Let's go ahead and give everybody the website again. Do you do Twitter at all?
I don't use Twitter, but we do now have an official Facebook page.
Okay, so let's start with
Facebook.com.
Okay, so go ahead and start over again.
I was just going to say the Facebook page is facebook.com/TSOTSC.
Okay, and then what about give everybody, there's a MySpace, and give everybody that, and then the website too.
Cool, it's MySpace is myspace.com/Southern Cross Band. And then the Reverb Nation page, where you can download the new EP for free, that's reverbnation.com/the sign of the Southern Cross. We also got a YouTube channel, and it's just youtube.com/Southern Cross.
Nice. And this is how I like to end all the interviews, Seth. I like to let the artist take a couple, 3, 4, 5 minutes, as long or short as they'd like to go. There's no wrong or right on this. There's no rules on this. I've had everything from musicians say hello and I love you to family, to bandmates, to I've had a couple people give very, very prophetic words of wisdom, to a lot of artists just saying, we appreciate the fans and everything. So this is your time to say anything that you'd like to do. Maybe you've never got the opportunity to say something you want to get off your chest, or you just want to, good or bad or otherwise, and just go, hey, I never got to say this, and so this is your time, and go.
Okay, well, I'm an over-verbose some bitch sometimes, so I guess what I'll do is I'll just say, I want to say thank you to all the fans who've supported us, through all the years, and I just want to say how much this journey means to me. There is no separation between me and the sign of the Southern Cross. It's my identity. It's what I've become, and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so the fact that there are fans out there who are supporting supporting that, who are buying the records, who are coming to the shows. It's life-altering. I mean, it's profound to me, and I just want to thank everyone who even just for half a second paid attention to a Southern Cross song. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means everything to me, and this music will, in the end, define me. And I'm just absolutely thrilled that I get a chance, I have an opportunity, no matter how small, no matter how big, to try to make a career out of this and try to be legitimate, try to be a legitimate artist and make an impact on this earth, because that's one thing that I want to do. It's very Viking, that idea that if you die and no one forgets your name, you're never truly dead. And that's, half the battle with this. That's sort of the point, is I want to do something that is everlasting and makes an impact on this earth. And I am eternally grateful that I even get the slimmest sliver of a chance to actually do that. So, much respect to everybody out there listening, to everybody who are fans of Southern Cross, to all the future fans of Southern Cross. And I just want to say, all hail the South, all hail our fans, and much respect, much appreciated. Bless everybody. Hope everyone keeps on keeping on out there.
And hang on the phone for a second. I'm going to say interview over.